text-to-voice synthesis provided by Vidnami. Get the Story Straight. January 25, 2021 by Anna von Reitz. I get so worn out explaining and correcting, that I feel like a teacher with 10 middle school math classes. If anyone cares, I fully explained all the details of the Great Fraud and have been doing so for many years now, including the impact of the Corporations Act of 1870 and the Municipal Corporation Act of 1871. Yet, this is an example of what the White Hats are putting out about this subject. In 1871 a seditious act was performed by the government. A coup was made to rewrite the Constitution and put "we the people" in all capitals, under a new corporate contract transferring the United States of America into the new corporation of the United States of America, which transferred the power of "we the people" and the Constitution over to the new corporation. When they did that, it placed the citizens in the United States as property of the corporation, which was centered in Washington, D.C. This action made Washington, D.C. a foreign entity on American soil of sovereign states. It was established through a loan from the Vatican when D.C. was transferred into a city-state, and this corporate entity then ruled over the people. Citizens' rights were taken from them in this process. No one realized this. 1. No country can be transferred into a corporation. Just try stuffing a duck into a sheet of paper and see what happens. 2. What they were trying to accomplish was a different kind of action. They were impersonating and latching onto the name of our unincorporated Federation of States, doing business as the United States of America, and incorporating it as a municipal corporation franchise allowed by the Usurping Corporations Act of 1870. The problem with that is that nobody voting for this action had any legitimate right to do it. Please note, it's routine and allowable to take an unincorporated business and incorporate it, and there is nothing in the constitutions dictating the form of business that our federal subcontractors adopt. The sticking points are: 1. The Corporations Act of 1870 was an usurpation of rights never granted to the municipal United States government and null and void from the start. 2. Any action incorporating any business under that act is also null and void. 3. Nobody seeking to enclose the United States of America by issuing a look-alike, sound-alike commercial corporation charter and publishing it, as the Constitution of the United States of America, which happened in 1868, or then seeking to transfer the assets of our federation as chattel belonging to that corporation via the Act of 1871, had any right to do any of it. An action taken without standing is a nullity. If it were not, I could sell your house and reap the profits, no questions asked. Those who seized upon the assets of our states and who usurped against our lawful American government in this manner had no standing to take these actions. On top of that, these actions liberally employed deliberately deceptive means, including similar names deceits, and were fraudulent on the face of it. Our states were not involved in the Civil War. Only the Confederate States of States, both North and South, were involved. It was an illegal commercial mercenary conflict, and these actions taken above were not only illegal commercial mercenary actions taken years after the declared end of the conflict, but acts of treason by the members of the Territorial Congress and acts of breach of trust by the British government and British Crown and the Holy See. Our states were completely out of debt to the European foreign powers as of the Andrew Jackson administration, and separate from the state-of-state organizations that went broke fighting the Civil War, and also separate from the Papist and British subcontractors which were deeply in debt because of it. So the foreign federal subcontractors, both the municipal United States and the territorial United States, colluded to seize upon our states of the Union and used usurpation, breach of trust, and fraud to transfer their own debts to our shoulders. They've been colluding in the same way ever since. 3. And unlike the ideas presented above, claiming that the Act of 1871 made Washington, D.C., a foreign entity, let me point out that Washington, D.C., has always been a foreign entity and a foreign government. It was set up that way from the very start, and its genesis is clearly elucidated as Article 1 Section 8, Clause 17, which was published in all three federal constitutions nearly 100 years before the Civil War, and which has never changed. Pick up any version of a federal constitution you can find, and look it up for yourselves. It's right there in black and white, the fateful codicil allowing the members of Congress to act as the government of Washington, D.C., and allowing them the powers of a plenary oligarchy within Washington, D.C. We know from the dates of the federal constitutions that the Congress, being referenced by Article 1 Section 8, Clause 17, was supposed to be our United States Congress and not either the municipal or territorial Congresses, because it appears in 1787, when our United States Congress was the only Congress in existence. Washington, D.C., has thus always been both a foreign city-state, and a foreign government, albeit it was supposed to be operating under American control. Our American Federal Republic stopped functioning in 1860, along with the Confederation. As a result, both the functions and authorities of the Confederation and the American Federal Republic were up for grabs, and instead of doing the honorable thing and assisting with the Reconstruction, the Holy See and the Queen and the Lord Mayor, all colluded against the limits of the constitutions and used legal chicanery to fleece their innocent employers, the American states and people, blind, under color of law. 4. I realized it. I've been stomping around from official to official for the past 30 years, explaining it like a quadratic equation. And they have almost universally stared at me and looked dumb. Why, you might ask yourselves, with all the brain power and lawyers and clerks available to the federal government, has it been necessary for old people from all over America to fight for decades for correction? And face prison time, IRS harassment, threats and murder at the hands of people pretending to be our elected officials. People who are our employees, taking their paychecks from our pockets. Most of my colleagues are in their 80s. In my circles, I'm a spring chicken. I lost another dear friend this weekend. We've all suffered all our lives as a result of the deplorable dishonorable actions of our misdirected public employees. And they think they aren't going to get the story straight? They think they are going to substitute a British version of our federal republic for our lawful government and our own American Federal Republic?